dumb American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm like him to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess I'll lit, I guess I'll bitch, now let's go.
Show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Sports Nonsense and Whiskey Podcast. I'm back. Took a week off. Got to congratulate Pinky. He held it down last week. My man did work. So appreciate you, my guy. Definitely had a good time with the fam up at Cripple Creek, checking out the ice castles. So well worth the week off. But we're back. I'm drinking water tonight, so please don't hate on me. I am the whiskey man of this crew, but I have been deathly ill for like the last 5 days. So I'm trying to rehydrate my body.
Because you're not drinking whiskey. That's the problem.
Drinking juice. I'm recovering too, Caleb, so it's not just you, buddy.
Not doing it, man. You know I love my whiskey, Pinky. My brown water is always on my list, but dude, my body's cramping up just trying to walk around. So I need to rehydrate before I start putting stuff in it that's going to take more liquids out.
Nobody likes a quitter, Caleb. Nobody likes a quitter.
There's no quitting. No quitting, just a small sabbatical. No quitting, just a little sabbatical. That's all.
I might even let that thin out a little bit more. Ooh.
Oh, jeez. This guy. So, again, Pinky, you killed it last week. Appreciate it.
I had some fun.
I told you could handle it on your own. I told
you
you were good enough.
It's kind of weird. Definitely shorter show when there's nobody to riff off of, and nobody to tell you when to move on to the next thing. So you just kind of go at your own pace, and then the next thing you know, you're like, okay, I guess we're done.
Got all I needed. All right, perfect. So, not a lot of sports world stuff for us to talk about on the whole. I think we're pretty much college football and NFL, Pinky. You got anything else that needs to get thrown out there?
I mean, I feel like because it's us, we got to talk about The Rock showing up at Raw last night.
I'm good with that. That was amazing.
You know, it's so funny that, like, when any of these guys show up that haven't been around for years, like, everybody goes just batshit crazy. Like, it's just like, and it just brings you back. Like, I probably stopped watching regularly right around when Cena's heyday started.
Sure.
But I caught most of The Rock in the Stone Cold era.
Yeah, you and I are the same.
So when The Rock came out last night, and I was just getting bits and pieces on Bleacher Report, I was losing it. The wife's like, "What are you doing over there?" And I'm like, "The Rock's on Raw." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, The Rock, he's actually showed up at wrestling.
I should have FaceTimed you. You because it was really funny is the football game was on halftime.
Right.
And so I was flipping through channels and I was like, "Oh, Monday Night Raw, duh." Boop. And like right as I turn it on, The Rock's music hits and he comes walking out. I was like, "Well, that was good timing." So I sit back. I'm like, "This has to be like they have to be showing video from his Denver appearance, right?" Nope. Out he walks, and then proceeds to just demolish Jinder Mahal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Jinder Mahal? Just
I don't know. I don't really know who that guy was.
Like, dude, some of the stuff like that they were saying, I was like, oh, we're back to like Attitude Era talking points when The Rock comes out, which is amazing because you hear things that you probably shouldn't hear at the 8:00 hour of television.
This is WrestleMania 40 coming up.
I know. Here's my problem though. Little. I don't want to dump on the parade because I loved it as much as you did, but I will say, I feel like The Rock is going with he's not the same attitude, I'm going to own you, cocky Rock anymore. He's like this friendly version of that. And I don't quite know how I feel about that right now.
He's like,
I want the true candy ass talk smacking jabroni having man. And he says all the same things, but they just don't sound the same. They don't feel the same.
I feel like The Rock can come out and be like, "Hey, I'm going to beat your candy ass, and then we're going to go have some Terramana. Like, we'll be friends after I beat you."
Sound like a bad deal.
That's exactly what it feels like. He's like, "Jinder, I'm going to go ahead and put you in your place. I'm going to let you know America is a great place, and you can't talk bad about it anymore. And then when we're done, you'll realize I was right, and we'll just go hang out and drink some tequila." Like, that's what it feels like. I don't like it. Because if you're going to lay the people's elbow on somebody, it shouldn't be somebody that you're then going to pick up and go have a drink with. The people's elbow has a purpose, and it's to make sure you understand that you are not the people's champ. End of story.
So I like it a lot. I'm excited. Hopefully they'll get that match. It sounds like, they've had that match. They've tried to get it together like the last 4 years. So
what match?
The Rock and Reigns.
That's okay. I was gonna say it. You just kind of skipped right to it. The one thing that he said that had me just losing my shit was at the very end of his appearance. He asked the crowd. He goes, "I got one more question for you. The Rock's hungry tonight. The Rock wants to go out and eat tonight. Should I go sit at a table? Should I go sit at a bar?" And everybody's cheering. He's like, "Yeah, The Rock loves a good bar too." Or should I go sit at the head of the table? And everybody was like, "Yeah!" And I'm like on the couch, like trying not to wake sleeping children. Like, yes, do it. End all of this. Head of the table now, please. So, yeah, there's going to be an interesting storyline coming up because there's no way The Rock asked that unless there's actually something he's going to do about it, right?
Right. They've got to get that match together, man. You got to get it while Roman's relevant. If anybody's going to break the streak, let it be The Rock, and then The Rock can go back to doing what he does, making movies. But
right, and nobody's going to interfere, right?
The same movies.
Yeah, same ones. But nobody's going to interfere in that match, right? Like that's family. They're not going to go against the family, right? So they would actually have to let Roman do it himself, you would think. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out as well.
So before we get into our college football talk, I just want to throw it out there. I'm excited. I got to clean up my space, obviously. I did not notice how much is behind me. But my 21-year-old moved out.
What?
So now I've got room in the basement, and here I am.
Word, dude. That'll be nice.
Nice.
Get a little space for yourself.
Well, it's actually the wife's. The wife's making it into a little workout room. Got to get her a TV.
That's fine.
And then she's got her work desk down here. That's where I'm at. I'm at her work desk.
Yeah.
So.
But you'll have like a space. You don't have to sit at like the kitchen table anymore or up in your office.
Right.
Cool.
So yeah, nobody's here. Junior's at work, so I've got an open space that I can, do whatever I want to do.
Word.
Nice.
Well, also before we start college football, because Robert is here, I just need to throw out, and I won't give any spoilers right now in case anybody does want to see it. But Rebel Moon is trash. Oh my goodness.
Pinky and I had started that discussion at work today.
What in God's name? Like, I know we've talked about it, but I just don't even see how an extended cut of that version makes anything better.
Hold on. Okay.
Artistically beautiful film. Storyline was god awful. Like a third grader could write a better plot scheme and hash out the character development better.
It was so bad that it was like literally a movie of like, hey, let me go get my friends.
It was a setup.
I need to get my friends for this war, so let me go get my friends. And
easy. I don't want to say
again,
too much. It is still fresh. I'll give people some time before I completely eviscerate it. But
the action's not great.
I was so excited for it. So excited. I love Charlie Hunnam. I am a huge Charlie Hunnam fan because of SOA.
That accent,
Wait, I don't care. I'm good with it. Don't care if he uses his accent in the movie. But like I kept waiting to figure out what his character was about, and by like the third stop, I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. But I called it very early on, and I was like, this. Now I'm just mad.
Yeah,
I'm just mad because Jax Teller deserves better. Period. At least fill out his. We'll wait. But dang.
yes, there will need to be a nerd heavy podcast soon because there's been some stuff, man.
Sweet baby.
I watched Rebel Moon. I watched
The
Creator, and I watched Leave the World Behind as well. And Leave the World Behind is actually pretty good. Creator is phenomenal. That's a great movie.
That was top 3 for me this year. Was Across the Spider-Verse, The Creator, and the Godzilla -1. That beat out so many movies. I was so surprised by that one.
So yeah, I mean it's on Netflix. It's an easy watch. There are some entertaining moments, somewhat, but like
for what?
For the hype it was given, and
No, Leave the World Behind with Marshall Ali, Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of a doomsday type of movie. Yeah, it's good though. It's good. Julia Roberts does well. Ethan Hawke, Marshall Ali is awesome in it. So that one's pretty good. That one's on Netflix as well. I need to check out. I was wanting to check out the Mark Wahlberg, The Family Plan. I haven't checked that one out yet, but that's on my list as well. So trying to hit, I had some time, so I was watching that. I did finish Invincible for Robert. Hi, Haley.
Hi. People say.
Invincible's great, except for the season, like the series, season 2,
the
mid-season ending isn't awesome, but Invincible's awesome. That's a great,
I haven't gotten around to that one yet.
That's a great show, and the way that they handle different things, really smart writing. Like it's
J.K. Simmons is awesome.
Yes. J.K. Simmons is great. So, Invincible is Pinky approved.
Okay.
Put that down. Pinky approved.
Word.
Thanks for the recommendation, Robert.
I got you.
Andy. I know Andy mentioned it before. Maybe Sam. So I'd heard it from a couple people that was a good show, and I just finally sat down and watched it. So,
word, yo.
All right.
Well, that's all I got for that. I just had
nice
to.
back.
That was.
Gotta
It was.
get
I was
another
so-
beer.
No, I appreciate it, Caleb.
All right, Caleb, lead us in, buddy.
Well, we had some football games happen yesterday that were rather entertaining. And no, I'm not going to pat the selection committee on the back for screwing over Florida State just because we got to watch some good games. I still think Florida State got screwed, so I don't really care. But I will say those are the two best semifinal matchups that we've seen since this started. The first game out in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl was Michigan-Alabama. Sloppy game, but an intense game. And it just felt like Michigan, it to me, felt like Michigan was going to control the entire game and lose. Like the way things were happening for them, their special teams had, it was like a block punt, a muff punt, excuse me, like a botched kickoff fumble. Like there was like 5 things that special teams from Michigan did to themselves to shoot themselves in the foot, where it just felt like this was not going to be Michigan's day. Regardless of the fact that they looked like the better team, it looked like they were out coaching Alabama and Nick Saban from John Harbaugh. It looked like they were dominating the lines of scrimmage. It just felt like something was going to happen and they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and lose. And they almost
what I
did.
thought the whole time? I'm just sitting here going, holy crap. Rich Eisen must be losing his shit right now. Because Rich Eisen was there, of course, with his whole family. His wife, his kids, they were all there. And with everything going wrong for Michigan, I was just like, oh, God. I can't even imagine how Rich is feeling right now.
Well, and another big Michigan guy who's very vocal is, I always mispronounce his last name, but Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports.
Yeah, Portnoy.
Portnoy? Okay.
I think.
He's always got stuff to say too, and I was like, dude, there's going to be some language come out after this game. Is what it felt like.
He had a great tweet pregame. He offered anybody $200 if they bring him a coffee, and he actually put like his section and everything where he was at, and somebody came and brought him a coffee.
Word.
So,
Word. So, yeah, Michigan, end of the game, they found a way to get it tied up. Going into overtime, definitely had the momentum, felt like everything had finally turned. They took the ball first, and Corum just busted it in. I mean, plain and simple, they just ran right through Alabama in the end zone.
Yeah, I think he had, 2 runs, and he was in?
Yeah, exactly.
So the first one was like 8 yards, and then the next one was touchdown.
Yeah. So, they just busted down that dam, floodgates open wide, and they went right in the end zone. First possession of overtime, like Pinky said, two plays. So Michigan gets the ball, Alabama gets the ball to answer, and Michigan's defense had Alabama's number all night. They looked faster. They looked more aggressive. They looked stronger.
Absolutely.
But Alabama kept having these little moments where it's like, oh, you give them that and you're going to leave yourself open for disaster. And it felt like after that third down play, okay, they got a couple yards here. Alabama's going to find a way to punch this in. Even though they're on like the 8-yard line, it kind of had a feeling like Alabama, we're going double overtime. We're going to the second overtime.
I called this from the couch.
You did. You texted me like as soon as it happened that you called that. Now, here's the thing, though, because you and I both were eviscerating Reese, the offensive coordinator for Alabama. Like, why? What a dumb play call.
Seriously, what was his deal?
Well, I saw something today because it was so hard to believe that they would call that QB draw from the 8-yard line. I saw something today that broke it down that it actually wasn't supposed to be a QB draw.
Right.
It was supposed to be an RPO running back to the flat who was going to be wide open for a touchdown, it looked like. The problem was the Alabama center got the yips and snapped the ball to Jalen Milroe's feet.
Right.
And by the time he was able to grab it and look up, his only option at that point was to take his run.
Damn.
And so while everybody is trying to really eviscerate Tommy Rees, I think maybe we should take a step back, because when you look at the film and you realize that it was an RPO that was meant to be swung out to that running back, you go, damn, he made a great play call. It just unfortunately didn't get executed.
Interesting. I did not see that, so.
And since it was Bama,
read up on that.
it didn't bother me any. I like it when Bama loses.
Thank God Bama's not in the champion, or Georgia.
I just want to make it clear. There was a second game after Michigan won. There was a second game that happened that was just as entertaining, if not more. And that was Texas Washington.
More entertaining.
That was money game, back and forth. What was it, 21-21 going into the fourth quarter?
It was 20-21. It was 21-21 at halftime. Was
it 28-28 at the end of the third, or it was 28-21? Like, it was still really close at the end of the third going into the fourth.
No, Washington took a 17-point lead.
That was in the fourth that they did that.
Right, but in the
that's what I'm saying. Though, going into the fourth, it was still neck and neck, and then in the fourth, Washington kind of opened it up just a little bit. You pulling up the box score for us?
I'm getting it pulled up.
Or it was like the end of the third quarter where Washington finally started to pull away?
It was 31-21 at the end of the third.
Okay, yeah, because Washington had that late touchdown.
And Washington scored 6 points in the fourth, field goals. The Longhorns scored 2 points.
Yeah, they had the one touchdown. But that one touchdown made it feel close again. Because then on the next Washington possession, they stopped them. They got the ball back with a chance to bring the game even or close to even. And they weren't able to convert. I think they fumbled, actually, on their next possession. Gave the ball back to Washington. And then it was over from there.
It was like, oh, well, it wasn't over. We thought it was over.
Yeah.
But then Washington couldn't punch it in. And Washington even had a guy get hurt to stop the clock.
Yep.
Which then gave Texas enough time to actually try to move down the field and score.
Yeah, exactly. So, first game ends on the very last play of the game, 4th and goal, overtime, fabulous. You don't ask for much more. Go to the second game, it ends on the last play of the game where Texas had a chance, and they were on, I want to say, the 12-yard line?
12-yard line, yeah.
4th and I don't even know what it was. It was 4th, and the time said they had to go for the end zone.
How about the pass to the flat on second down? Like, what a horrible call there. Like, what's that going to do? What's that do for you? Nothing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where quarterbacks become so robotic at times that when those play calls are made and they get pressured, that instinct is to go to that safety valve. That's why it blows my mind that a coach ever calls a play with a safety valve behind the line of scrimmage in those situations. Like, that play call should never be on the table. It just shouldn't. You should be running a running back in out or a wheel route or something that takes them up the sideline. You should not be doing a screen behind the line of scrimmage as a safety. So that hurt. But there were big play after big play after big play in that game from both offenses. Adunze, is it Pettis? Polk. And on the other side, you got Worthy and shoot, I'm drawing a blank on the other guy's name.
Sanders. That's their tight end.
Yes. And the guy with the really long dreads. I can't remember his name. He made the catch, that catch on, like, what was it, 4th and 12 or something like that, to get him down to like 30-yard line. at the end of the game. I can't remember his name now. Dang it. Washington, I believe. I think it's Washington. Maybe not. But just back and forth all game. Play after play was being made. And it wasn't that the defenses were playing bad. These offenses are just explosive with really good talent. Now, the one thing that really did surprise me is the fact that Texas was seemingly able to run the ball at will, and they didn't take advantage of that as much as I felt they should have to control that clock and keep Penix off the field a little bit longer.
I think they got cute.
And then I was also very surprised that with such a lack of a running game from Washington, that Texas did not bring 5 more often and put everybody else back in coverage, because Washington really couldn't run the ball all night. Now, I know they had a couple rushing touchdowns, but that was from inside like the 3-yard line both times. So not exactly running threat per se. So I think Texas got out coached. I think Sarkisian got out coached by DeBurs and allowed Washington to kind of pull away at the end and take advantage of those moments.
Yeah, it was a great game back and forth. Penix was dropping dimes.
I'm not sure there's anybody who throws the ball better, college or pro, right now, to be perfectly honest with you. When that leaves his hand, it just looks pretty.
And it's effortless, and it's always just right on the mark. Now, his receivers, they're really good. So they always seem to make those catches, but they're put in those awesome spots. Like,
I mean, he's putting the ball where only his guy's going to grab it, right? Like, it's just amazing. And you know what? I know that this is going to probably take people, and they may not like the comparison, but I watch Michael Penix throw that ball, and it reminds me of Mike Vick. Not saying it's as strong. I'm not saying the motion is necessarily exactly the same. What I am saying, though, is what you just said. It looks so effortless. Every time he throws it, it just looks so effortless and so pretty coming out of his hand.
Maybe from that aspect, I could see that. But like
that's the only part of the comparison I'm trying. And that's why I was hesitant to bring it up. But just that I can't think of anybody else other than Mike Vick that would just let it go, flick the wrist, and you're like, that just went 50 yards. Or that was a 20-yard out route from the opposite side of the field.
Yeah.
Like, that Penix does stuff like that. And I'm not saying his arm is necessarily as strong as Vick's either, but it just has that feel. Does that make sense?
I mean, Vick's got a top 5 strong arm of all time, so I don't know if anybody's going to match that, but I can see what you're saying there. I just quick release, effortless. That's what when I see him, the ball just comes out of his hand so quick, and I'm like, man, if you like, I don't see like before last night. A lot of folks had him being drafted in like the 2nd and 3rd round.
Yeah,
I don't understand. And I'm like, have you guys not watched him all year? Like, and a lot of people are. And we always look for ways to nitpick. He does have 2 NFL wide receivers he's throwing to. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Polk and Ujude are awesome. But he also puts that ball in spots that only they can get it. Only they can be there right there to grab that ball. And he just slings it all over the place. Like, I love Penix. I love Penix.
He's got the accuracy of Tua with like the arm strength of a.
So I like that comparison a little bit more because
Brock Purdy.
He's got more arm strength than Brock Purdy.
I think Brock Purdy's got pretty good arm strength. You don't think so?
No.
What would be a better comparison for arm strength?
He gets it where it needs to be, but
I don't think he's got like a rocket arm, but it's strong.
That's a tough one to think of, like who throws the ball. I mean, I would say he's got above average arm strength.
That's fair.
And I'd put Purdy at. Purdy wins with anticipation and putting the ball in certain spots, but he doesn't have quite that arm strength. Like that throw that Penix made off platform, kind of having to come back across his body, like that takes some arm to do that. I don't think Purdy could do that.
I guess I'm over exaggerating Purdy's arm strength. I guess Purdy's closer to Tua than
Tua's arm's probably stronger than Purdy's.
Oh, okay.
Purdy's arm strength, when you look at it, like it's not like his throws are normally on point within 30 yards, but the one thing that Purdy does is he puts it in a spot that allows you. His ball placement's really good.
Crazy
because
good,
he puts it in a spot that his guys can make plays with the ball in their hands.
That's true.
Because if you get the ball to Ayuk or Deebo with the ability to run after the catch, boom, gone. Or Kittle.
Absolutely.
Right? So
yeah, I mean, Penix does the same
really
thing.
well.
Yeah, I mean, accuracy-wise, you can definitely put Penix with the Purdys, the Tuas, the Rodgers. Like, I don't care that he's just in college. Like, what that dude is throwing dimes on every play, it feels like, is just ridiculous.
Right. And I watched him all season. I watched it all year.
I did too. You and me are both really high on Penix.
I like Penix a lot. We'll have to see a little bit more about what's up here. I hear he's a really good leader. I hear he's good in the film room. If those
his
play
teammates,
out, man, you're going to get a really good shot.
Were all bummed that he didn't get the Heisman. All of them. They kept talking about it.
Yeah, I personally think he should have. But
so from a team perspective, and he had the numbers and his team was there. I just think Jaden Daniels finished the season on such a tear with his throwing touchdowns and rushing. Like his rushing was 1,200 yards rushing or something crazy. Like it was just it's almost like they took those numbers above Penix, and Penix's numbers kind of slowed down towards the end of the season. Like they weren't.
Well, Penix had the most passing yards in college football, but he didn't have more touchdowns. He didn't have less interceptions. He didn't have any rushing yards, really. Although I will say he did show last night on that one QB draw that they ran, boy can run if he wants to.
Yeah, he's got some.
So
I'm high on Penix. We'll talk about him a lot, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. So keep an eye out on him. But
I think he'll have a good game next week. We'll see.
Well, that's going to be – here's my thought on next week's game. Michigan versus Washington. First of all, I love the fact that we got two undefeated teams.
One and
secondly,
two.
I love the fact that we got two Big Ten teams that beat two SEC teams. So I'm a big fan of that situation. And yes, I know they're technically Pac-12 and Big 12, and they're not quite Big 10 and SEC yet. But they kind of are. So it's an all Big 10 national championship. And we're looking at two very different football teams. Now, I'm not saying Washington can't play nasty. Definitely not what I'm saying. I'm saying we haven't quite had to see them play that type of game the way Big Ten football in Michigan truly likes to play nasty, in the trenches football. Washington, if you're going to say anything, is a more finesse team, if you will. And that sounds terrible because I don't think they're anywhere in that category. But if you're comparing them to what Michigan does and what Washington does, Washington wants to quick strike the crap out of you and just demoralize every ounce of fiber you have by making sure they're going to do whatever they want in the passing game and you're not going to stop it. And they're going to go over the top on you all day, and it doesn't matter if you know, because they're still going to do it to you. And it is going to demoralize the hell out of that team. That defense is going to look just beat up by the end of the game. Michigan's. However, Michigan's going to be able to do what Texas was doing on a much higher level and a much more efficient level when it comes to that run game against Washington's defense. So you're going to watch Michigan, based on my prediction, you're going to watch Michigan control the game. They're going to control the clock. They're going to control the game. They are going to have that constant motor going forward. The problem is, I personally, from everything I've seen this year, I don't think Michigan's going to be able to stop that quick strike ability of Washington enough times to win the game. I believe Washington will have just enough when it needs it most for one of those big strike plays that's going to put them over the top. I just feel that in my bones. And people have been trying to tell me, and I had a couple Michigan fans on Facebook come at me and tell me that Michigan's got lockdown corners and their defense is elite, and they're not. They're just not. Alabama's offense was stagnant. It was hurting. The only team that had an offense that Michigan really had to play all season was Ohio State. And Ohio State is the generic wish version of what Washington's offense is going to show them. So, look, Michigan fans, I watch your team. If you watch this at all, you know that I was a big proponent of everything that was going on against Michigan was a joke. So this is not Michigan hate by any means. I actually have a soft spot for Michigan because of the Fab Five. Okay? So I will never be mad at Michigan. But I do believe what it's going to truly come down to is Michael Penix being able to make plays and J.J. McCarthy not. And that is as simplistic as you want to get. That's what it's going to come down to. And when Penix makes plays, they're quick strike big. When J.J. McCarthy makes plays, it's trudging down the field and hoping things don't go wrong. So I think J.J. McCarthy is wildly overrated. I said that at the beginning of the season when people are talking about him for Heisman candidate. Do I think he's a great game manager? I don't even know if he's that, to be honest with you. I think he's a solid college quarterback. Not anything more. You can compare J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to get so much hate for this, Pinky. You can compare J.J. McCarthy
Well deserved.
For all the Alabama quarterbacks that came before Jalen Hurts.
Damn.
Ooh.
That's where he's at.
All right. Robert, what do you think about this matchup?
I would have to agree because, I mean, when you really contextualize it, it's all about the run game, and it's never about the quarterback until Jalen Hurts came out. He really kind of was able to take that offense and make it his and control it more and it not be a run game. That's where I agree with Caleb on that completely.
Okay. But what do you think about this game? Not
This
Hurts.
game? Oh, not Hurts. I'm sorry.
Not
You were going off
McCarthy.
on Caleb's. This game for what the Washington-Michigan game that's coming up? Is that what you're...
Yeah.
Okay, so I personally think, yes, Caleb is going to be right on Michigan controlling the clock. However, I think Washington is going to overpower and capitalize on the offense and just win the game and just take Michigan to the cleaners. Because I don't think that's my personal opinion on it. I really think Washington has the better offense through and through. Period. Because, again, J.J. McCarthy is just a college quarterback, but Penix has that elite mindset along with his receiving, where you were mentioned earlier, he hits those targets. Michigan, yes, they can hit it, but it's not consistent, and it's not going to be in the ways that Washington's going to be able to capitalize. That's just my opinion.
You
Their
should have
defense
taken
is
down
gonna
that
struggle.
Sparty banner before you threw that out there. I think people are going to consider you biased.
Robert's definitely a hater. He's definitely a hater.
I'm a U of M hater, period. I
love
love the Big
it.
Ten, but unfortunately, I as much as I was really pulling for Michigan and Alabama, they're just not the stronger team to go against Washington. They're just not going to be able to do it.
And I disagree with both of you.
Ooh, you like Michigan?
So hold on. Let me throw this out first.
Okay.
I'm rooting for Washington.
I like it.
I like the way they play. love Penix. Uduze is awesome. And I really
quick side note. Him, Neighbors, and Harrison, there's going to be 3 happy teams.
Absolutely. Those guys will come in and start day one. I've enjoyed watching Washington play all season. They've been just amazing to watch. The problem I have is Michigan's D-line and O-line is on a whole different level than Washington. And I do think Blake Corum is going to run all over him. And
I agree absolutely with that.
I feel like they're going to do to Washington what they did to Ohio State last year.
Okay, hold on.
Run over them.
You are aware that Washington is arguably the best offensive line in college football this year, right?
They're pretty good.
No, not pretty good. They are legitimately ranked as the top or one of the top offensive lines in the country.
I'll take Michigan's O-line over there.
I'm saying when you talked about Michigan's D-line. Michigan's D-line isn't as good as Texas's D-line, do you think?
I think Michigan's defense is better than Texas's defense. And as a whole.
Okay.
Texas's D-line is like Byron Murphy is like a god. So like you put him on any defense and they're probably going to be one of the better ones in the league. But after their D-line, the rest of Texas's defense isn't very good.
Not very good. I'll agree.
Michigan's defense is much better.
If Texas had trouble getting pressure on Penix, I'm curious, what in your mind makes you think Michigan will be able to get pressure on him?
That's just how I'm feeling. Like I said, I'm rooting for Washington.
I got you. I'm just curious if you saw something that maybe I was missing that I need to be looking at again or something like that, or was it just the feel you got overall from watching them against Bama?
And again, Bama's offense is not great by any means. Milroe is very, very average as a quarterback. So if they play if Alabama had a quarterback, they'd probably beat Michigan.
Based on all of Michigan's mistakes, yeah, probably.
And Alabama's defense is pretty good. So I don't think Washington's defense is good enough to hold down Michigan. I just think Michigan's going to run the ball. They're going to run it a lot. They're going to have success, and that's just going to keep Penix and the offense off the field. And I think Michigan won't stop Washington completely, but they'll hold them down enough. So that's what I'm feeling.
You know what my new favorite football phrase is, Pinky? One play drive, baby. You know who started that?
No.
Mike McDaniel. This is going to be a one-play drive, baby. Hey, everybody, keep your eyes out. This is about to be a one-play drive. Oh, I'm so excited to see Waddle get a one-play drive. Oh, Tyreek Hill about to get a one-play drive. Washington all about that one-play drive. And they're going to take their shots. So in your mind, Michigan's going to be able to stop enough of those shots? Are you thinking like a blowout? Because like Robert's thinking a blowout, Washington win. Are you thinking close game kind of because of the running of Michigan and then
I feel like
end of the fourth quarter, they just pull away? Is that how you're feeling?
I feel like a 34-20. That's what I'm feeling.
Damn. Okay.
I don't think that's not a blowout. That's just like,
I mean, that's pretty dominant. 34-20 is pretty dominant.
I was about to say that's a dominant game, Ping.
See, and that's funny because I'm kind of in the middle of both of you because I'm feeling it's going to be like a 17-20.
Now,
21-24, somewhere in there kind of game.
Let's say Michigan can't shoot themselves in the foot as many times as they did against Alabama. If they do that
definitely
against
not.
Washington if they did, it'll be a slaughter.
Yeah. If Michigan does that, it will be exactly what Robert predicted. Absolutely.
Which is what I'm counting.
But again, I want Washington to win.
I hear you. I get it. Okay. I like it. Now, do you guys think? Wait, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, let me know when we're going to move on, because there's something I wanted to talk about college football before we move on.
Oh, I was going to kind of transition, but still stay in college football. So let's see if my transition is what you want to talk about.
Okay.
Do we feel like, one, Nick Saban has coached his last game after what he had to say in that presser? And two, is Jim Harbaugh gone regardless of the outcome of this game and he's heading to the NFL?
Yes.
Okay, so Harbaugh's gone, Pinky. Robert, what do you feel about Harbaugh?
I'm so conflicted on this, honestly, because I've been following it, but I think he's going to go to NFL. I really do.
Somebody's going to hire him this cycle, and he's going to get control the way he wants, it feels like. And it's probably going to be the Chargers, and they're finally going to just pay up. So I'll come back to Harbaugh in just a second. Do you guys think Saban is going to be done?
No.
I think he's close.
Close?
I think
he's got another 2 seasons, I think, would be my guess.
I think if he goes out, he's going to try to go out on a championship. He won't.
Well, so that was going to be the second part of that question. Had they won this year, or even if they had made it to the championship game and lost, would that have been enough for him to be like, I did everything I possibly could with this group. This is my best coaching job ever. I'm satisfied now. Because he kind of already said that that's how he feels.
But he wants a champion. I know he does. That's why he'll stick around for at least 1 to 2 more, period. He's hungry for it.
I like it. But we can all agree that it's something he's thinking about now, planning his exit.
Absolutely, 100%.
Word. All right, Pinky, what do you got still in college football?
So I got to say, props to Bo Nix. Doing what he's done all year, just throwing touchdowns. Give a quick shout out to him. Another guy. But I thought we needed to talk. I mean, we don't need to talk about the Georgia-Florida State beatdown, but
no, the fact that was even televised and people covered it and reported on it afterwards was a joke.
But they're part of the conversation of what I want to talk about.
I know where you're going. Give it to the people. So
the other game that is pretty crazy, Missouri and Ohio State. And a lot of Ohio State's top players, one guy, McCord, their quarterback, went into the transfer portal. Didn't play the bowl. Marvin Harrison Jr., there was no reason for him to play in the bowl game, right? Because if you're not playing for the national title and you're going to be like one of the top teams drafted, you shouldn't risk playing in the bowl.
Abuke sat too, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did too. And then with Florida State had 15 dudes.
Yeah.
Fit. And what I thought was interesting is Ryan Day came out and said we need to fix something about this situation and all the players sitting. And I agree, because for a lot of the teams that had people sit, you had these blowouts happen.
Kirby Smart came out and said the same thing after the Georgia win. He didn't look very happy that they even played the game.
Right. So, and I don't know what the solution is, but I was interested to see what your thoughts would be on, like, what could we do to fix this?
I got an idea. And it's the same thing I think the NFL needs to do with the ability to hire a coach. You move it until the entire season's done. Transfer portal doesn't open until all bowl games are closed. Just like I don't think NFL coaches should be able to be hired until every single game in the NFL has been played. And that means all the way through the Super Bowl. You shouldn't be opening up free agency, coaching hires, nothing. That should all be frozen until all games are done. And then you allow everybody to have the same equal opportunity to go after somebody. So
then what are your thoughts then on the soccer portal?
the soccer transfer portal is so different from anything else in professional sports, Robert, the way it's done. I'm cool with the way soccer does it.
That's fair. Okay, no, I'll give that to you.
The fact that you have transfer fees and it's basically loaning a player to a team and then he has to come back and things that I won't get into all of it right now for people that don't watch soccer, but
that's fair. I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
It's so unique, just like relegation. It's its own entity. So I don't think you can compare it to any other North American sports. Now the MLS does things kind of like free agency, but also like the transfer fee. So the MLS is all sorts of effed up. Don't even get me started on that. But I do think transfer portal should be after the season. I don't think any NIL deals can be completed after the season starts. Me personally, I think that solves a lot of issues.
Right.
NIL deals and possible signings stop as soon as the season starts. Transfer portal and NIL deals cannot pick back up until the season is over, period. Now, I think we're going to have to get further down into this, and everybody knows, you listen, I'm the biggest proponent for let these dudes move wherever they want to and let them get paid however much they want to because they deserve and earn all of it. I don't want to hear any of these shit-ass adults in the room talking about how this isn't amateurism anymore, blah, blah, blah. You dudes made millions upon billions of dollars off the backs of these kids and somehow had rules and regulations in place that went against everything that America stands for. And you treat these student athletes the exact opposite of any normal student, which I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now either. But the point I'm trying to make is there will have to be some regulations like the NFL that has for free agency and things of that nature. Yeah, it's going to become more of a semi-pro league. You already screwed that up. You didn't want to open Pandora's box because you didn't want them to realize they could earn money. So you kept it from them. Then Pandora's box blew open on you and you couldn't put it back together. So we're not going back to amateurism. And let's be honest, the whole idea of amateurism is so antiquated, it doesn't exist. Olympians are not amateur athletes. They make millions of dollars if they're good at what they do. So don't sit here and think that they're just getting freebies and sleeping on somebody's couch while they train. A lot of those athletes are living in really nice houses with really great amenities and never have to worry about another day in their life.
I'm not saying, have you been to the Olympic Center?
Yeah,
it's pretty nice.
Amateurism is a joke. It doesn't exist. It probably never has. The only thing that amateur is you weren't on the professional level yet. You weren't at the top level of whatever you were doing. That's amateurism. So we're going to have to see something, Pinky, where they limiting, basically putting a salary cap on the amount of NIL one team can have as a whole. So if your quarterback's got $1 million NIL deal and the cap's at 10, well, he's taking up a lot of that cap. And I think we're going to have to see something like that where you cap what a NIL collective or boosters are able to fully pay off and donate.
I don't know if I like that idea either, though, because I like these kids being able to get what they can get. So
I don't disagree with you, but something will have to happen. I'm not saying that that's my personal favorite. It's just one of the ideas that's kind of floating around out there that seems relatively easy to implement and kind of make it fair across the board. I'm still working on some other ideas, but we'll have to wait and see how things play out with some of the regulations coming forward.
All I know is, like, there's certain times that college football for me isn't exciting and fun. And it's mainly when two teams get together and a team just gets blown out, which is pretty common. Thankfully, for some of the better games in this bowl season, that didn't happen. Thankfully. But bowl games definitely don't have the same luster.
That's been that way for even before the transfer and stuff. Once they implemented the 14 playoff, all bowl games were worthless. Plain and simple. There's ways to fix that. you start making those bowl games, the first round play-ins and things of that nature, and it adds up. You get a lot of those games back. So we'll see. Pinky, what would you do with the transfer issue? Kids sitting out. How would you change it?
So I like the idea, like what you mentioned. I'm going to shout out to our boy David, who's watching from Cedar Hill, Texas. That's pretty cool. We're reaching folks in different states.
Appreciate you, David.
I do think I like what you said about, like, you shouldn't be able to enter the transfer portal until all of college football is done. To me, that just makes sense, right? It's a tough scenario because, again, if you're going to transfer, you don't want to get hurt in that game,
right,
bowl game, if it doesn't mean anything either, right? So, and which is similar to guys going into the draft. Like, if you're planning to go in the draft, unless you're playing for a national title, and even if you are playing for a national title, I feel like there's still risk involved that you have to decide if that's worth the risk. If you're getting $2 million in NIL money from a team to transfer to them, you're probably not going to want to play in that bowl game and risk getting hurt and then have that money not even come.
But so if you move it to after the season, they shouldn't even know that there's a possibility of $2 million coming to them from another team.
But you know.
I know. I'm just saying you gotta start somewhere, right? You got to start eliminating the potential of this somewhere.
So, now again, we might get helped out with the 12-team playoff next year, because then at least for those 12 teams. Ohio State probably would have made the 12-team playoff, so we don't see all their dudes sit. Florida State would have made it. We don't see their dudes sit. Like that, it might help a little bit. So maybe we'll see. We will have to revisit this after next bowl season and see if the 12-team playoff helps kind of fix a little bit of that situation.
I don't disagree with that. I still think we're one step closer to the super conference that I've been talking about for years. And a lower tier, a second tier. I would love to see relegation with it. People keep telling me that that's foolish and it'll never happen. I think it would be perfect for this setup and scenario with how many teams there are in college football.
Make it like a soccer situation.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to see a lot of chaos in the Wild Wild West until we hear that super conference is going to form. And I'll tell you right now, if FSU really does get out of the ACC deal, it'll happen then. I don't think FSU will be necessarily joining the Big Ten or the SEC. I think they'll be getting out to basically help whoever else start that super conference and move in that direction. You heard, I've been talking about it for years, but you've heard Chip Kelly come out and say that's what needs to happen. All other sports need to go back to their original conferences, let them stay there, and football needs to be independent completely, and you build it from there. And then the NCAA is completely out, which would make my day. You would have your own governing body, which is what's needed. So we'll see.
Robert, anything to comment on that before we move on?
I mean, personally, I haven't followed the transfer portal too much, but from what I have gathered and what I've always just thought to myself in passing with it is why would you even bother consider transferring out of a team when your team's still playing? Like, whether the game matters or not, that is still the same season. Period. So if you're going to play in this, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, money talks, sure. But at the end of the day, this is, you don't have a contract in college football, but that's why it should, again, like Caleb said, come at the end, because it doesn't matter if the game matters
right
or not.
Now, it doesn't. Right now, literally as soon as the regular season's over, bowl game's announced, teams can come to you and offer you that NIL money.
But here's the deal. I think I think I'm just tired of hearing it's about the money because I don't believe that's really what drives a lot of these guys. What I believe drives a lot of these guys is passion and playing time. And what I'll tell you is 2 perfect examples happened this offseason. One was the biggest news of college football for a minute, and that was Nebraska getting Dylan Raiola. That kid, I am 100% positive of, always wanted to be at Nebraska. But it was such a shit show that he knew if he went there, he was probably ruining a lot of his NFL potential. And I can't blame him for that, so he went to Georgia. Well, all of a sudden, Nebraska turns it around a little bit. Those heartstrings are still pulling. Yeah, I'm not saying Nebraska didn't back up the truck a little bit. But when Georgia's starting quarterback comes out and says, yeah, I'm going to come back for his 7th season or whatever the hell Beck's doing, why would you not be like, yeah, you know what? I like what I'm seeing at Nebraska. I'm going to probably start as a freshman, and I can build one hell of a legacy, and they're going to give me the same NIL deal. Why am I not going? Another example is Malik Murphy from Texas. By all accounts, the greatest teammate in the world. And he had to make a choice that if he wanted to find somewhere to go play and start next year, because it wasn't going to happen at Texas with Arch Manning there now, if he wanted to truly go play and start somewhere, he had to leave his team before they went and played for a semifinal playoff game, because if he didn't, the transfer portal would have found everybody else and there wouldn't have been a spot for him somewhere. So he was forced to make a decision to leave now instead of being able to play in the bowl game because of when the transfer window is and his desire to be able to actually play and start and show people what he's capable of. So for me, those are 2 perfect examples of it actually isn't about the money the same way people want to make it out to be. Now, there's a lot of lower names out there who are going for the money. I guarantee you. But let's be honest, if Kyle McCord left Ohio State and wanted the money, he'd be at Nebraska, not Syracuse.
McCord got told by Ohio State he wasn't probably coming back next year, so I feel like there was more about they were moving on from what they saw.
Right, but I'm saying if he was really about the money, he would have gone with Nebraska. I assure you Nebraska's NIL collective would have paid him more than a Syracuse.
Well, but you got to have there's a fine balance there. Can I get NIL money and actually play? He wasn't going to play at Nebraska.
Probably not. But I'm just saying, I think there's a lot more of that than people want to talk about because they're so angry that these college kids are making millions of dollars and they're not.
I would disagree that it's more about the money for a lot of kids. Money and playing time. Playing time is important because you got to be able to play to show that you can play in the NFL. So
I think everybody's willing to give roughly the same NIL deal to the top dogs. So it's not in that situation for me, then it's obviously not the money. It's who's going to give me the best opportunity to play and win. So, no way to really prove either side. That's just my general feeling on it.
We shall see.
I think we're good on college, Pinky. That might be the most college football we've ever talked.
I think so. I think we are definitely good. Ooh, this old granddad's kicking in. Old granddad.
Good old granddad.
114. The old granddad bonded 100 proof. $25. It'll do you
Nice.
right. It's good stuff. This is a little bit their upgraded 114 proof version. It's pretty good though. It's also pretty good for the price as well. You can get it for about $25-$30.
That's solid.
It's right in the wheelhouse price wise. So
Can't be mad about that.
we lost Robert for a moment. But let's move along. Enough college.
Let's talk NFL. You want to start with the Broncos?
No. We'll save that argument for later.
Okay.
Let's start with the surprise of the 2023 season and the damn ghost of Joe Flacco.
Told you a couple weeks ago, they're the most dangerous team in the AFC.
He still throws picks like nobody else. But he was not afraid to throw the ball down the field. And he's made Njoku look like one of the best tight ends in football, which we always thought he had the talent to be.
True.
Size, speed. Njoku's got it all. Just hadn't really had he hadn't had anybody help him put it together. Joe Flacco is making that guy look like a revelation.
Making him look like the arguably best tight end in the game right now. I mean,
Crazy.
Given what he's doing, his age, I mean, he's what, like 4 or 5 years younger than Kelsey?
Right.
So,
but nobody else, none of their other quarterbacks have made him look
makes
like
no sense. It makes no sense, but Flacco understands. Flacco knows talent when he sees it, right? Let's get Amari Cooper the ball. Let's get Njoku the ball. Ford can run it a couple times, and we'll look really good. Junior's got to be real happy right now.
And Cleveland's O-line has done a really good. Junior's ecstatic. He's on another level. He's already planning with. He works with a guy who's a Cleveland fan. They're planning on going to the parade if it happens. I was like, easy, son, easy. But save up enough money to make that happen, I guess. If you need to make it happen.
I mean, you don't have a lot of time to do so because it's a legit possibility for them to come out of the AFC.
It's all about matchups, though. It's all about matchups. And they're going to have a tough one. But before we get to matchups, all that, kudos to Cleveland. They locked in their playoff spot by beating the Jets. They were the first game of the week on Thursday.
Let me say this about Flacco before you go on to the next one real quick. I have said many a time, and you kind of scoff at me for this, but playoff Joe Flacco is a Hall of Famer. Regular season Joe Flacco is not. Joe Flacco gets Cleveland to the AFC Championship game, maybe the Super Bowl. I'm on a line there. He does that with this run that he's doing right now during the regular season for Cleveland, coming off the couch and jumping in and balling out. And then if he can make a run in the playoffs where they get to the AFC Championship game, depending on how he plays in that game, whether they win or lose, I might just go ahead and say Joe Flacco's a Hall of Famer.
They win the Super Bowl, I'm still not calling Joe Flacco a Hall of Fame.
If he wins the Super Bowl, you wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame? You are out of your mind, Pinky. Eli Manning is in the Hall of Fame because of 2 Super Bowls.
Eli Manning is not in the Hall of Fame yet.
He is. It's a foregone conclusion.
But I wouldn't put Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame either. Because I feel like Eli Manning was good during 2 playoff runs. Undeniable. But
yeah, we see very – I get it.
That doesn't make a career.
We see very differently on what the Hall of Fame is.
Is Joe Flacco a great story? And did he show up in great moments during that Ravens Super Bowl? And maybe this Cleveland one? Maybe. Yeah. Awesome. That doesn't make a whole career.
I don't think being average for an entire career should get you into the Hall of Fame. I don't think just because you played 20 seasons and put up really great numbers,
I don't
average the whole
time. Longevity is not one of my check marks.
You believe Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer, though, don't you?
Frank Gore is definitely one of the better running backs of his time throughout his time. The longevity helps him, but he was definitely the longevity is the
only reason he's in.
You could say Frank Gore was one of the top 5 running backs during his entire run.
Frank Gore was a really good running back. He was not great ever.
Now, am I going to argue if you left Frank Gore out? No. I'm not exactly sure Curtis Martin's a Hall of Famer in my book.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. If you're talking about careers, 3 Super Bowls from Flacco, and arguably one of those being the most epic.
Flacco's only gone to 1, bro.
He's been to 3, hasn't he?
No, he went in 2012 with the Ravens, and they won.
I know he won one, but this would be his 3rd appearance, would it not?
No. When else did the Ravens go to the Super Bowl, bro? The Ravens have gone twice and they've won twice. They went with what's his name? The shitty quarterback from
Yeah, I know. Okay, either way,
Tampa.
2 Super Bowl victories would be a career that should be in the Hall of Fame, especially at the elite level he played at to get to the Super Bowl and win.
No, because it's more about the team around him than it is him.
What? If he didn't play the way he did, the Ravens wouldn't have won. Period. End of story.
I don't think playing 3 games of great football makes you a Hall of Famer. To me, that's not how it works.
Like I said, we have very different views on what the Hall of Fame should be.
I think everybody's career tells a story. And I should be able to say that without a doubt, you were at least one of the top players at your position at some point in your career. And besides a playoff run, he's never been that. Hell, if you use that definition, Nick Foles is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Nope.
He had a hell of a run with the Eagles.
No, he didn't. He had one great game in the Super Bowl. The rest of those playoff games were actually not that good. He's not.
They weren't
the
that
reason.
good. You are right there. But again, I don't think 3 games makes you a Hall of Famer. It doesn't.
And see, I think when you do the biggest things on the biggest stage, that is more valuable than anything in the regular season. That's why I think Julian Edelman's a Hall of Famer. And I know you don't like that one either, but that dude might be the best playoff wide receiver in the history of the game.
So I think you've got an argument there that I don't hate the argument. I still don't think Edelman's a Hall of Famer, but if you want to make the argument, if you take his regular career with his playoff career together, is he on that borderline? Sure, I will give you that. We can agree that he's on the border. It doesn't make him a Hall of Famer in my book, but if you made that argument, if you were in the room convincing guys, I wouldn't immediately say Caleb's an idiot.
Appreciate that.
Okay. So, because I think he had enough regular season as well as playoff to say, okay, yeah, I could see that, right? So Flacco doesn't have that. To me, Eli Manning doesn't have that. Eli Manning's numbers look good because he played for a long time and didn't really get hurt. But other than that, he was just good in 2 playoff runs, and he had great defenses that backed his up.
He had a lot of bad O-lines, though. Not a lot of great talent around him at times. I know. I'm just saying, again, Eli showed up in 2
Hall
playoff
of Famers
runs.
don't normally lead the league in interceptions and look like garbage for most of the season. Okay?
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
So, Eli's regular seasons are really, for the most part, really pedestrian or bad.
Average.
He had 2 great
best.
playoff runs. He gets credit for that. I agree. He will get in. He's just not a Hall of Famer in my book.
I just see the Hall of Fame as
Super Bowls don't get you into the Hall of Fame.
I see the Hall of Fame as greatness. And if you demonstrated greatness at any point in your career, then I'm okay with you being in the Hall of Fame.
For 3 games?
It was elite. I mean, it was arguably the best quarterback run you've ever seen in the playoffs.
It's just 3 games rather than a whole career.
He's played well in the playoffs besides that. It's just that run specifically is so elite.
And both of the Super Bowl games, they won 17-14. So it's not like he blew them out of the water or did anything amazing. He just happened to be the winning quarterback.
Well, I think in the Super Bowl he had something like 270 yards and a touchdown, and he only missed 4 incompletions or something. It was a really good game by the quarterback.
It's not amazing. It's not Hall of Fame.
I think
that's average. He didn't turn the ball over.
No.
Average.
Not
Average.
not on that stage, Pinky. When the lights are the brightest, do you shine? That's what he did. He shined.
Average.
Move on.
And again, at the end of the day,
Move on.
football is the biggest team sport. He had a team behind him.
Yeah, let's not go down that road because then I'm going to talk about Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman, and let's not do that whole team thing.
Oh man, it's getting passionate.
I mean,
Why, you don't want to piss off Cowboys fans? You don't want to piss off Cowboys fans? All right, so we're done with that. Kudos to the Brownies.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. All right, let's talk about the Ravens. They already just blew the doors off the 49ers, and they follow that up with just like manhandling the Dolphins. Like manhandling them.
We'll get there, Clayton.
Yeah.
Give us a second. We'll get there.
I didn't see a comment. Do I not have good internet that I don't have comments here?
Possibly. That's possible.
Because it is possible.
Clayton jumped
I
on
was
here,
worried
so
about
we'll jump on
All right.
here. But Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Pinky, are you fully off the whole he's a running back thing? Are we finally off that position with Lamar Jackson?
I think he has found enough consistency in his offense with Todd Monken. He has built some good rapport with Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, and Bateman and Isaiah Likely. They've played so well. They haven't even had Mark Andrews out there, and they've been playing this well. I'm not completely off of it yet because when he needs it, he still uses those legs quite a bit.
Wait. You just said you're still going to call him a running back because when he needs to use his legs,
I didn't
he
say
does.
that. I just said I wasn't completely off that ledge yet. I'm close. The heels are there. My heels are still on the ledge.
I mean, if you watch the dude play this year, it's obvious that he's sitting in the pocket or he's dancing around to throw the ball, and he's actually not running on purpose.
He's getting me there. All right. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm close.
Okay.
I'm really close.
Man, Pinky, that's such a shame to hear.
And I think the last thing he needs to do to get me off the ledge is show me it in the playoffs. That's the last thing he needs to show me. He shows it to me in the playoffs. I'm off the ledge. I was wrong. Kudos to Lamar. I'm glad you got paid, and I'm glad you won a second MVP. Like, kudos to you.
What does he have to show you in the playoffs? Like, if they get bounced in their, divisional game, but he has a great game. I mean, what are we talking here?
I'd like to see him play the game in the pocket. And I think he's done pretty good this year. Like I said, I'm almost off the ledge. I've watched him. I've got him in a couple fantasy leagues, so I've paid attention. I've watched him play. And I think the new offensive coordinator has really helped in that regard. So I just want to see it in the playoffs. I haven't seen it against, they haven't played the Chiefs. They haven't played the why am I drawing a blank right now?
The Niners, the Dolphins, those weren't enough of a show me.
Well, they were all right. The Niners were all about turnovers, and the Dolphins just couldn't get any pressure on them at all. We'll see. Again, like I said, I got that much left on the ledge. All right. And I said, I'll say I was wrong. He matured, and changing the offense forcing him to play more in the pocket has helped him evolve. I think he's almost there. I just want to see it in the playoffs. And we'll see.
This is what's funny to me. There's no disrespect to you, Pinky, but this is a very common mindset, I feel like, from everybody who thinks Lamar's a running back. That he didn't have this ability before Monken showed up. That this wasn't what he was running in college. In college, he was running a pro-style offense, throwing the ball all over the field. So I think it's amusing to me at times when people are like, oh, yeah, he's finally grown up. He's evolved. He's been listening to his new OC and helped groom him to be a passer. It's always been there. It's that the other OC was such a trash play caller that you didn't get to see it. So, and that's, that's a small little whatever caveat.
And I'm not going to count everything you do in college because guys are running wide open most of the time in college. So I'm not going to really count a lot of that. But he's evolved quite a bit this season. And he's going to get that second MVP. They've got the number 1 seed. And right now, in the AFC, I don't know if there's a team that can beat Baltimore. Besides Cleveland. I give Cleveland a puncher's chance. Division.
Yeah, I agree. I will say there's another team out there that I would give a solid puncher's chance to, and that's Buffalo. I think Buffalo and Cleveland are the most dangerous teams in the AFC to Baltimore getting to the Super Bowl.
And if I'm not mistaken, Caleb, Flacco is the quarterback for the Browns.
Yes.
I'm just going to put that out there on the
out there
real fast.
It would be wild to see him go against Baltimore. It would be wild. So,
and I think they would they would just be like, you know what? We're going to heat him up. If you throw it downfield, so be it. We're going to heat you up. We're going to bring the pressure.
Absolutely. You would have to bring so much heat and force Flacco to win the game. That would be my game plan as well. But I don't think there's another team in the AFC that has a shot at this point. I think it's those 3 teams, and that's one of those 3 teams is going to end up at the end.
We don't agree much, but I think we agree.
It's been a solid evening. Oh, you're
good.
Dragon? You not see that? Cheers.
Let's talk about a team that maybe teams don't want to play in the playoffs. On the NFC side, don't look now, boys. The Rams just look feisty.
That offense is rolling right now. They got a running back.
Insane.
They got 2 wide receivers. Matthew Stafford looks healthy.
They're going. They're looking sharp.
I think they're the 6th seed right now. They've made the playoffs, so they're in. I think they would go and play the Lions right now. I don't want them to come into my house. I don't. I don't know, and the Lions, by losing last week, and we can talk about that, by losing last week, they kind of screwed up that chance of getting into that 2 seed. And I think that would have really helped because I don't want the Rams who run the ball well. Cooper Kupp and Puka are when they're kind of just doing their thing, they are tough, man. And the Rams defense plays really good against the run. Their back end's not great, but they play really good against the run. So,
yeah, the Rams are the NFC version of the Browns. I'm not going to say the Bills because the Bills were like a Super Bowl favorite, to start the season. They're not a dark horse coming out of nowhere or anything like that. So I think Buffalo is really dangerous and has potential. I don't put them in the same category as Cleveland, who went through all their injuries. They're on their 4th quarterback. And then the Rams, what everybody thought they would be at the beginning of the season and where they've come and managed to get to. I would say those 2 teams are at the top of everybody's list of please don't match up against us.
And sometimes it's just a bad matchup. I think the Rams going to Detroit in a dome kind of a bad matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of a bad matchup. So kudos to the Rams getting that playoff spot. They are in. Let's see. 49ers demolished the Commanders. That was given. All right, let's talk about Cowboys Lions, because that was an interesting game of the weekend.
The ref fucked up. Real bad.
Well, hold on.
Plain and simple. And I'm
still
tired of the NFL coming out now and saying the Lions tried to confuse them and now it's their fault. And shut the hell up. Do your job.
Hold on. I like Pro Football Talk a lot. I like Mike Florio and Chris Sims. And I think they do a good job of talking technical with Florio, and then Chris Sims being kind of that wild card. Like, you never know what that dude's going to say, right?
I agree. I like both of them too.
Now, Florio makes that point that they kind of confused the ref, the way they handled the situation. And again, they brought human error into the equation, right? They were trying to confuse the Cowboys. They ended up confusing the ref. That's all kind of mute, because Chris Sims says it best. They were still in an illegal formation, so nothing else that happened mattered. That formation.
I haven't heard
illegal.
that yet.
Yes.
Why was it
all
illegal?
over NFL Network? Because
there's no one covering the guard.
There's no one covering the left tackle who went out for the pass. There's nobody covering him, so he's not even though he reported eligible, even if he did, he's not considered eligible because there's nobody covering him.
But now I gotta look at this, because I remember there being a guy on the inside of him in the tackle position.
There's not. So the formation is.
I gotta look at this, because this is the first I'm hearing of that somehow.
Yeah, unfortunately, Caleb, that's the medicine that I'm having to take myself right now, is because everything else I've seen with the lineup, it is an absolute illegal formation. And that's the shitty part about it.
And I'm a fan of the Rich Eisen show. They brought it up as well, that it was an illegal formation. But that's not what was called.
Right,
So
no, that's not the problem, but still.
The focus should have been brought to that play was illegal from the beginning, not he was an illegal guy touching the ball.
Son of a bitch. Look at that.
Yep. Having to eat that spoonful of sugar, and it's
I was totally
nasty.
thinking there was somebody between him and the guard. All right. Well, Lions, you didn't get screwed. I'm going to come off of that perch real quick.
So, in the moment, though, I felt really bad
That's
for the
bad.
Lions.
That's bad. How do you line
In
up
the
incorrectly
moment-
like
It
that?
rips me to shreds.
In the moment, I know you loved it because you always go with real men go for two.
So not always, but when the situation calls for it, yes, I fully believe that. So I was a big fan of the play call. You have a chance to win the game, and you want to play conservative and go to overtime. I'm not a fan. Never have been, never will be. You play to win the game. You don't play to extend the game. There's a big difference there. So I will always be the guy that's aggressive. Absolutely. And that also goes back to the fact that I believe if you have a great offense against a great defense, the great offense should always win because they know what they're going to do. They always have the advantage, and the defense has to react. So between those two thoughts, that's why I've always been aggressive when it comes to those types of play calls.
Now, I will say, I'll give Dan Campbell some grace. He went aggressive. They couldn't stop CeeDee Lamb to save their life. So they get to overtime. Can they stop CeeDee Lamb in overtime? I don't think so, right? So they probably still lose. So I understand going for two there. I probably kick the PAT. I'm going to try. Maybe I get the ball first. My offense can score. But I understand. Now, they were also in a position they can't get any worse than the third seed. So let's go for the win. If we don't get it, we're still the third seed, right? So I think that maybe that played a part in it, maybe. But All I know is they played tough against the Cowboys, who I think is a good team. They could have won that game. They're one of the few teams that held the Cowboys. They held the Cowboys to 20 points. And that's with CeeDee Lamb going batshit crazy.
I agree. I think the NFC is wide open. San Francisco is really good, but I think they've shown enough chinks in their armor that somebody could get them on the right day. I don't see them as just this unbeatable team like I did a little earlier in the season after right before the Cleveland game. And even after the Cleveland game, I kind of felt that way for a little bit. But I don't – after watching what Baltimore did, there's a game plan out there now of what you can do with Brock Purdy and slowing that offense down. And I'm not saying everybody can execute that game plan, but there is a game plan. I don't know if
they didn't slow – to me, they didn't completely slow the offense down because the offense still had over 400 yards. They were on their way. It's those turnovers. If those turnovers
right.
don't happen, that game is a lot closer.
Agreed, but that's where I'm saying they slowed it down. When you're taking that offense off the field, you're slowing it down. In my mind, that's still slowing it down. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that goes and unfolds.
All right.
As far as Detroit, I'm baffled by the fact that I haven't seen that, recognized it, heard it yet. I've been talking about how Detroit got screwed, and now I'm off. I got to go backtrack. I got to eat a little bit of crow. I was wrong. That's just got to be better. You got to be better.
Yep. And it
sucks. It was a good game, though.
It was a good game.
It was a good game.
The tenacity was great. I just
How about
wish that the Lions would have pulled their head out of their ass.
This last weekend of games set up a crazy scenario for this next week coming up.
For Buffalo?
The Colts won. Well, that's really interesting. The Colts won, the Jags won, the Texans won. The AFC South is all sitting at 9-7.
Yeah.
And I think the Jaguars, if they beat the Titans, they're in.
I believe that's correct.
I don't think the Colts or Texans have a tiebreaker on them. So they need to pray that the Titans win the game. Which the Titans did lay the smackdown the last time they played the Jags. So it is possible. Kind of hope that happens. I've seen the Jags have looked like a really bad football team most of the season.
Yep. They drastically underperformed our expectations, to say the least.
Dude, at one point, the media was talking about them as possibly getting the number 1 seed. And I was like, yes, that's what Caleb and I said. We were right. And then it all went to hell.
They've epically failed since. And I've said it. I will continue to say that it's a conversation that needs to be had now. Based on the fact that he was a number 1 overall draft pick, is Trevor Lawrence a bust?
So I don't think he's a bust, but I don't think he's like elite. Like when you draft the number 1 guy, you want him to be elite, and he's not elite. I just don't see that in his game.
Yeah, he's got a lot to prove still. Now, I'm not saying he is a bust. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying it's a conversation that needs to be had now. Like it's in that realm.
He's probably like the 15th best quarterback. He's like the line now. Like he's average. He can get you to the playoffs, but he's kind of like that line. If I'm the one team in the AFC that I think could be a surprise would be the Texans. So if I'm the Browns, who struggled with the Texans, I want the Jags to win. Because
I don't.
Cleveland will go play Jacksonville, and I think they'll whoop that ass. Jacksonville loses, Houston wins. Cleveland goes into Houston. I don't think it's as easy to beat Houston with CJ Stroud.
See, had they not had all their injuries, I would probably agree with you. But I do think Tank Dell being out affects that offense. And I
That
can't remember
hurts.
who's. They've got somebody out on the defensive side too. That was it Singletary that was out?
Singletary's the running back.
No, Singletary the cornerback.
You're thinking Stingley.
Stingley, my bad. Singletary, terrible. Was he out? I feel like there was somebody in their secondary that was missing games.
I think he didn't play this game or he got hurt in this game. I don't know if he's out though.
So there's just some key pieces that I think really do matter to Houston right now because they're just not on that elite level yet.
But if I'm Cleveland, I want to play Jacksonville. I don't want to play Houston.
Man, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Jacksonville still has all their weapons. Like, they could still go off at any time. They've shown that. It's just not consistent. So that's why Jacksonville would still scare me a little bit.
Yeah, I'd rather play Houston if I were them. Let's see. Steelers, back-to-back weeks scoring 30 points with Mason Rudolph. Are you kidding me? Mason Rudolph?
Nuts. And
Like, that's
watching the
just
Steelers
gross, man.
situation right now is a little
That's just
crazy.
gross. What says Kenny Pickett is not a good quarterback more than Mason Rudolph tearing it up, or the fact that this season Joe Flacco has as many touchdowns this year in like 5 games as Pickett does in his whole career? Pittsburgh, you need a new quarterback.
Yep, absolutely, they do. And it still
Oh,
blows my
that's-
mind that Mike Tomlin has had a winning season for what was it, like 14 seasons now? Is what I saw.
17,
17, excuse me.
which is why
Pittsburgh
I
hasn't fired
think
him yet.
I think Mike Tomlin's a good coach.
He is,
I do.
but I definitely think he needs to maybe move on.
Maybe.
I've been wondering that for a while.
So an interesting game this week. Packers and the Vikings. Packers are on that outside looking in, but they took care of business. And the last game I wanted to talk about, just because I think it's the dilemma is there. The Bears beat Atlanta to get to 7-9. And Fields has been playing pretty good. Pretty good. Like, I'm not a Fields guy. Most people know that. I wouldn't want to be the GM right now. I really wouldn't. Because I think it is a tough situation. Having the number 1 pick and having Fields and seeing that he's gotten better every season.
I've got zero sympathy for the Bears organization. The ineptness that organization runs with is mind-blowing to me. The fact that the rumors are right now that they're going to keep Eberflus as the head coach, like, no, dude. No, I didn't see enough improvement for that guy to maintain the leadership of my organization. Are you out of your minds? No. And you made a couple bad mistakes before that. It's okay to admit the previous setup made some bad decisions. I'm correcting all of them. You know what? I might have made one myself. I'm going to fix that too. That's what a good leader does. They don't string you out as long as possible. You know what happens if Eberflus is the head coach still and they draft Caleb Williams or Drake May? He's going to look worse than Justin Fields. And you did everything you possibly could to ruin Justin Fields' career. And you almost accomplished it at one point. And the guy's rising from the ashes out of nowhere. So, Chicago, Pinky, you might hate this, and I apologize. But I feel like Chicago and Denver are very similar, and they are both giant messes right now that don't have a lot of hopeful outlook for the next couple of years. Unless they make some really big, crazy moves that people just aren't seeing or expecting. And both need to get rid of their head coaches. Like, I see a lot of similarities.
I don't know if I'd agree completely with that. And the ownership group's not going to get rid of Peyton right now. So
Unfortunately, you're probably right. But they should, based on what he's done this year. Move on. He's not what you thought he was. He's not going to be the savior that leads you back to a Super Bowl. That's just not what he is anymore.
Aren't they being investigated right now, too, for some of this?
Yep. They sure are, for the way they handled the Russell Wilson contract.
Nothing's going to come of that.
Oh, I doubt that. There'll be a fine, but that's all that'll happen probably. Maybe a draft pick loss. Maybe.
I doubt
but
that.
I feel like Russ has – I feel like the only reason Russ gave that information to the NFLPA is because him and his agent have some proof that was the conversation.
A very good possibility of that.
And I think this is Russ's way of saying, you know what? I'm the type of dude who's not going to bark back at my head coach in public. I'm not going to chew him out on the sideline like he did me. But you guys want to do me dirty like that and continue to do me dirty like that? Fine. I'll just go make sure I do the things I need to do behind closed doors to let everybody know how dirty you are.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. I like Russ. I'm a Russ guy. He's played better. But if we're going to be honest, financially, if you're making the decision to move on, it's a lot smarter to move on by benching him and not guaranteeing his 2025 salary, which would be guaranteed based on injury.
You're absolutely right. Business-wise, it makes perfect sense. The problem is it's illegal in the CBA to do exactly what you just said.
It's not illegal.
That's exactly what they're being investigated for, Pinky.
Yeah,
you cannot bench somebody because of their contractual obligation.
They absolutely can make that decision. The Raiders did it last year with Derek Carr.
It is literally in the CBA that you cannot do that.
So why didn't the Raiders get fined? The Raiders did the same thing to Derek Carr last year. And in fact, they did it worse. They sent him home. He wasn't even on the sideline.
Pinky,
they sent him home.
I can't tell you exactly why. Okay? I can't.
I
don't know.
Nothing's gonna come of this. They did the same thing last year. Nothing happened. The precedent.
Derek Carr didn't have proof that's why he was benched. Is what it probably comes down to.
The Raiders only did that last year because the same shit happened to the 49ers with Garoppolo, and Garoppolo couldn't pass the physical, and they were on the hook for his money. So
yes, Pinky, you're right about all of that. That doesn't change the fact that what the Broncos are doing is dirty, and it's illegal.
It's dirty. It's not against the CBA.
They
didn't send them home.
That's
what
they're being investigated.
They can bench anybody. You can bench anybody.
Yes, you can. You cannot do it because of a contractual obligation, and that's what the Broncos said they did. That's the problem. And the fact that they did it when they did it with Russ behind closed doors, and then they benched him after they weren't going to make the playoffs. Let's keep this all in mind. They didn't bench him when they were still in the playoff hunt. They benched him after they didn't make the playoffs. Once they were already out, then they benched Russ and put Jared Stidham in. So just think about the timeline of events, what's being talked about. It's not a good look for the Broncos, my guy.
Happen. No, they did him dirty. I don't disagree with that.
I would not be surprised if there was a fine and some draft compensation taken away.
I don't think so.
The Broncos are a hot mess right now. That's just plain and simple. They're just a hot mess. And I don't see that changing completely over the next season.
Maybe.
But I am not a Russ guy. And I didn't like the move to begin with for the trade. And then after you trade for him, less than a month later, turn around and sign him to the extension that you did, also made zero sense. Like everything Peyton has done as the GM has been pretty much trash. He's had a handful of decent draft picks, and that's it. That really is it.
Well,
a lot of where the Broncos are at right now is because of his decisions.
Hopefully Sean Payton likes him. Otherwise, he's probably gone.
Why, even if Sean Payton likes him, why would you keep him? Like, the dude has not made any really good moves as a GM.
If Sean Payton likes him, he's staying. Sean Payton's in control. Everything that's going on, it's obvious Sean Payton's in control. So Sean Payton likes him, and he likes working with him. and George Payton understands Sean Payton's in control and will work with him, he'll probably stay.
I guess that's true. I'll
But
give you that.
it's easier to keep that guy than to grab somebody else, right?
Well, I
They've
mean,
already
you're
got
not
a guy
bringing
in
in a
place.
GM now that's not going to be anything but Payton's lackey, right? I mean,
Right.
it's going to be Sean Payton's decisions, and the GM's just there in title. That's not
Right.
really doing the job.
Right. Look, they did Russ dirty. I don't like that. Everything hasn't worked out. I still find it a positive that with a similar roster, the Broncos won more games this year. And the coaching was evident. The coaching was better on the field. Doesn't mean they're still not a mess. Doesn't mean we can't be better. But I still see things moved upwards. There was still a good upwards trend in my book. Now, the only positive and silver lining, we're probably going to draft a quarterback. Hopefully we draft a good one. And hopefully we figure out how to actually like coach up a quarterback, which we have. The Broncos have never drafted a quarterback and had a quarterback play well for them. So there's a lot going against them.
Yeah, that.
But if you can win games with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson and Jarrett Stidham, then I have a little bit of positivity that you can win games with a rookie quarterback. So
I guess I just haven't seen anything from Sean Payton's quarterback room that says he improved their stock. So I don't have any faith that Sean Payton's going to be able to groom a rookie quarterback.
At least I see positivity that we had Russ last year who looked like hot garbage to Russ this year who was at least like in some categories number one in the NFL. So
yeah, but a lot of that was on Russ too for trying to run his own offense and for George Payton for allowing him to have more say than the head coach. And I see to me, and I get what you're saying. You saw a silver lining because of more wins. What I saw was the same hot mess, just a different plate served on. Like, I honestly, look, we know I wasn't a big Sean Payton hire guy. I wasn't mad at the hire. I thought it was a decent hire at the time because it would right the ship, if you will. And he's done that to an extent. I thought his last 3 years or so in New Orleans were average at best once Breeze retired. And I'm seeing the same things from him. I'm not seeing a true leader of men.
But let's just say when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that finally retires and you're not able to have a good replacement, it's not the Packers who went from Favre to Rodgers to Love, right? Love pretty good right now. That's hard.
Oh, it's damn near impossible.
Even in Drew Brees' last year, they still made the playoffs. So, like, you're not high enough to get a top guy. Like, it's still hard to replace that guy. So, I still think, it wasn't as good, but it's still, like, they were left in a tough situation.
I agree with you. I'll agree with you there to an extent.
His talent and skills kind of degenerated where he couldn't throw the ball deep anymore. They did what they could with him, and then they were still good enough that they couldn't get a good replacement, right? So I don't think that all falls on Payton, in my opinion. But I have seen Payton win with lots of different quarterbacks. That gives me hope that if he can get his guy, who, and again, Patrick Mahomes was his guy. That's why the Chiefs traded up as far as they did, because they knew they had to get in front of the Saints. Because the Saints were going to draft Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
Payton saw something in that guy, and he was right, because that guy turned out all right.
So you can be a good talent evaluator and not a good talent developer. And I think that's what Sean Payton is.
He did take Drew Brees' game to another level, whatever you want to say. Brees was pretty good in San Diego. He was really damn good under Payton. Right?
Yeah.
So, again.
But he had an elite defense. I get it.
He didn't get the defense until the end of Brees' career. Their defense didn't get great That 2009 was a little bit different. That 2009 was all predicated on turnovers and being nasty. The defense itself wasn't amazing. Their defense in like 18, when they should have won that game against the Rams and been in the Super Bowl, that defense was awesome. So again, I just don't think it's as negative as possible. It's not great. But I've always wanted the Broncos to draft a rookie quarterback. We're in for it. And he's not going to be Paxton Lynch. So we're good.
I mean, are we looking at like Michael Penix?
I've seen that so much.
The conversation
a lot of those reports
is Penix and Nix are the two guys that are going to be around that range. Now, this comes down to this weekend. We'll turn into this week. What's most important about this weekend is the Broncos can get the 11th pick by losing. By winning, they can get the 16th pick.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Bo Nix is sitting at the Broncos pick, that's Drew Brees light right now. That would be exactly what Sean Payton is looking for.
I will say, I like Penix myself. I won't be mad at Nix. I like Nix. I watched a lot of Nix this season too. He's played a lot of football. To me, if you plugged Nix into most teams that are decent right now, I think Nix is the most ready to play in the NFL today. And he played a lot of college football. He's been around a while. The other guys have a much higher ceiling. I think they're going to be amazing. But if you needed a guy who was ready to play today, I think Nix is the most ready to play today. That's my opinion.
I mean, I don't
think his ceiling's is high.
I don't necessarily disagree with that at all.
I think he's most ready to play today.
I think Nix could be a scarier version of Brock Purdy. He's a true point guard who knows how to get the ball to his weapons at nauseum, but he can also run.
Like I said, I won't be mad with either guy. I'd be happy with that. Again, there's a conversation, and it's all going to be based on what the top four teams do. Bears, Commanders, Patriots, Giants all need quarterbacks. You can make
and
that
that's not all.
conversation.
Pinky and I were going over a list last night. There's a solid like 10 teams that truly actually need a quarterback this year. So it's going to get interesting.
I'd love to see this list.
If you protect Sam Howell, could Sam Howell be your quarterback? I think he can.
Sure.
If you protect him, right? So could you make the case at 3, you take Marvin Harrison Jr. and then try to build the O-line up, right? The Giants, you could make the case, hey, we paid Daniel Jones. We're going to stay on that mistake. Let's grab Malik Neighbors and let's roll. Because the Giants don't have a wide receiver. So what makes Daniel Jones better? Getting him a wide receiver, right? So there's the case those teams could maybe not, draft a quarterback. Maybe.
For Robert's enjoyment and anybody else that cares, the list of teams needing a quarterback. Bears, Pats, Commanders, Giants, Broncos, Falcons, Saints, Raiders.
Yeah.
Which makes this weekend's games really important. If the Broncos lose to the Raiders, they'll have a better draft pick than the Raiders.
Which they will.
If the Falcons beat the Saints, those two guys will also be 8 and 9, and they'll be better than the Broncos. The Broncos would still get the 11th pick.
See what happens.
Now, I'm on the opinion right now the Raiders defense will crush the Broncos. Their offense isn't that great. But their defense, since Antonio Pierce took over, that defense has looked completely different. I don't know why. I can't put a finger on it. But they look.
He knows what he's doing.
Different. That might be. The Raiders defense has been pretty awesome since he took over. They beat Kansas City without Aiden O'Connell completing a pass for 3 quarters.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Max Crosby doesn't get enough conversation as best defensive player in the league.
He's definitely up there.
Final thoughts, my guy.
I'm excited for this season. To almost the best part of the weekend is definitely Bills Dolphins. Dolphins don't have a whole lot to play for. Bills have everything to play for. I mean, Dolphins are in the playoffs. They can be the 2 seed or the 5 seed.
Buffalo can be the 2 seed, or they could be out of the playoffs.
Right. How crazy is that?
Wild. Absolutely wild.
So those are big games this weekend.
It's gonna be fun.
Those are really the only. What's that?
Are you guys gonna be doing anything for him?
Why, you want to hang
Other
out and
than
get some
Caleb's
drinks?
getting
What's
better.
up?
That's what I'm thinking, man.
I got family stuff I gotta do since I've been MIA for the last week.
I'm just gonna put this on notice for you one time. You have exactly 8 weeks. 8. And Dune is here. 8. We got
Nobody
a
cares
lot of
about that.
discussion there, Caleb.
Yeah, well,
Nobody cares
look,
about that.
I'll do my best.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I'm just saying we got 8 weeks for that.
Robert, you got any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, Washington's going to take Michigan to the cleaners. Period. That's what I'm going
Love it.
for. As long as Michigan forgets their special teams like they did this last week, it's going to happen, and it'll be glorious. On the other hand, NFL, excited for all the different outcomes that are coming. This has been a wild season. So looking just forward to see how this all shapes out, because it definitely was not anything I would have guessed by far. So
I'm excited for the playoffs as always, but I am more excited for the offseason. Maybe more so than I ever have been, just because of all the things that need to happen for so many different teams. What do the Broncos do being a hot mess? What do the Bears do being a hot mess? What are these quarterback needy teams doing? Who's moving up? Who's moving back? There's going to be a lot of chaos this offseason, I think.
What do the Patriots do? Do they trade Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick even stick around? I mean, there's so many.
He's going to the Commanders. It's my pick.
See, so this is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm excited for the playoffs. See how the year finishes out and all that. But I just feel like there are so many storylines and strings to pull this offseason that it's going to be one of the craziest ones we've seen in a very long time, if not the craziest. So that is something I've always got in the back of my mind right now.
Yeah, buddy.
On that note, as always, friends, family, you get that time with your inner circle. Cherish those moments. Take advantage of them when you can. Do not take them for granted. We love all you guys. We appreciate you. If you want anything from us, hit us up. You know where we're at. Appreciate you, fellas.
Twitter. Let us know.
Cheers. We're out.
Cheers.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high.